Let's talk Retouch Varnish. Okay, so it's time for a second pass on almost everything on this big painting that I've been working on here. Meaning that like everything has an initial, at least one good coat of paint on it. And so it's gonna be time for some touch-ups. And I don't always advise this, but if you know your own system, meaning I know just how much paint I'm actually eventually gonna put on this canvas or panel. If you know how many layers you're gonna need, then you can do this. If you don't know how many layers you're gonna need, meaning if you're like, maybe I'll fix it on the next pass or the pass after that, and you're just one of those like people who paints and prays, I would suggest you get some more training. Because really, I mean, I say it all the time, you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan for how the painting is gonna progress too, because that'll tell you what you're allowed to do and when you're allowed to do it. Why I'm making a big fuss about this is because this can, after my layer of retouch varnish, I'm really only gonna go in and like put paint in places to pull the whole thing together. It's not gonna be the whole painting gets a whole nother pass of paint on it. If that was the case, I would just keep painting because it's not sinking in too badly, and it's not, you know, matte in some places and shiny in others, mostly because I don't use any medium. But I do want to see what it's going to look like when it's varnished. And for that reason, the good people in the art supply world have made this thing called Artist Retouch Varnish. So hopefully all the oil painters in the room know that you can't apply a final varnish until 6 to 8 months after your painting is done being painted on. Unless you use the modern like Gamsol or Conservatar varnish, which can be applied dry to the touch, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about having a diluted varnish-like thing that we put on the whole canvas right now, which will allow us to see their colors in their most vibrant form. Essentially a preview of what it's gonna look like when it's finished or varnished. And that will allow me to finish it piece by piece. It'll make the points that need my attention stand out the most. So I'm wagging a brush in front of your face. I just wanna say a couple of things. It really doesn't matter what brand you buy. I'm definitely not going to endorse any kind of retouch right here. I buy whatever's the cheapest and not like the worst at the art supply store. I also really like to use these cheap, what they call gesso brushes or chip brushes, however you like to call them. I buy them from the hardware store, not the art supply store, because they cost half as much. But they do tend to shed hairs. And I have a very big painting over here, so I'm going to be really vigilant about how many hairs I'm actually going to lose on this brush, which is why the whole time I've been talking to you, I've been compulsively pulling hairs out of this, because if I can get them out now, then they're not going to go into my painting. Also, everything on my painting is dry to the touch. I haven't painted on it in 3 days. It's going to be fine. So if anything is suspiciously wet at all, don't do this. Maybe use spray retouch varnish. It's very helpful for circumstances like that. My last word of advice is to pour into a cup, dip and brush, just like with real varnish. Never pour it directly on the panel or a canvas. That's what dumb people do. And make sure, as if your life depended on it, that there has never been water in this brush, and that the last time this thing saw water was a good long time ago, and that it's not terribly humid. So that causes blooming in varnish, meaning if there's water anywhere near your whole varnishing system, you're gonna get like it's kind of like what the mirror looks like when you take a shower. It's not what you want to happen to your painting. It can usually be reversed, but scary. So pour, brush, and maybe I'll take a little picture after I'm done because it's gonna be way too long for you guys to wanna watch. Work quickly, get it all covered, and then step away from the painting. Don't just keep slapping it on, because this is essentially a sealant layer. You want to keep your paint layers open. Catch you later. Okay, so we're done. And here's what we want to do, is we want to kind of tilt the painting around so that we get this really bright shine on it. And that'll tell me any places that I've missed. And we'll be able to kind of refill. this just popped up. I don't know if you guys can really see it very well, but there's like a weird brown spot on the floor there. That's gonna need my attention. And the fixes that I made on this face dried to a different color, which was really the impetus of this this touch-up. Was I don't want that there, and the lips look insane. So the colors really changed as it dried. So I'm gonna have to go back into that and probably repaint most of the bottom of that face. But it's okay, I think they could use, both of them could use more color on their face anyways. So there you have it.